What if the reason you keep falling off track has nothing to do with food and everything to do with how you think about food? You can track your macros, you can get your workouts in, you can eat clean and give up sugar and hit all of your steps. But if you are missing this piece, it's going to be an uphill battle for you to have a permanent transformation when it comes to your weight loss and your wellness. You have to change who you are. You're never going to trust yourself unless you get that real and get that deep. And that's why today we're talking about transforming your body from the inside out. It's way more than meal plans and macros. The real root of sustainable change is harnessing the power of your brain. I'm going to talk to you about how I hacked my brain to keep the weight off after over a decade of struggling to not just lose, but really avoid regaining every single time. You can't outbehave a misaligned belief system. Identity and action have to hold hands to work together in lifting you up, in leveling you up into the woman that you desire to be. Lasting change doesn't come from doing alone. It comes from being someone new, and that is an inside job. So there are 3 things I'm going to talk to you about today. We're going to start off with the RAS, the reticular activating system, and how you can upgrade your own RAS so that it works in your favor. What that is a bundle of neurons in the brainstem that communicates with your prefrontal cortex, which is your decision maker, your executive functioning portion of your brain. And the RAS is filtering everything through. It's kind of like the gatekeeper to make sure that of all the millions of sensory stimuli and all the information you can get in a day, you're only going to see the things that are important, and the things that are not deemed as relevant can get ignored and pushed to the side. Otherwise, we would be on overload. So the example everyone can relate to is when you are shopping for a car. Now, this is strange. I will say that for both of my babies, we got a new car within a week of birth. That was not planned. And you would think one major life event is enough. Again, not planned. It just happened to work out that way, and we just rolled with it. But I remember when my husband was picking up his baby, which is his truck, which he got after our second. It just so happened to be the right time in the right place and available. We saw his truck, the make and model, everywhere. And don't you find that when you are shopping for something, you see it everywhere? When you are thinking about something, you notice it everywhere. And that is your RAS in action. I mean, I'm sure if you thought to yourself, I wonder how many people drive Teslas, you're probably going to see Teslas all over the place. They didn't just appear, they've always been there. Your filter just never deemed it as important as it did now because you input a question that your brain went to work on. Your brain just started to notice what it now believes is important. This is really good news because you get to teach your brain what's important. Your RAS helps you see more of what you already believe. So if you believe something about yourself like, I am not a consistent person, I'm always late, I always screw it up on the weekends, losing weight is really hard for me. My body just does not cooperate. I'm a night owl. I'm a morning person. I don't like exercise. I'm just addicted to sugar. Can you see how these statements are extremely powerful and make it extremely easy for your brain to find evidence? Your brain will start scanning for proof to support these beliefs. And the magic is that you can reprogram it on purpose. So we want to use the RAS in our favor to shift our identity because our identity is the foundation of what gives us lasting results. When we don't have an identity lined up with what we're doing all the time, we're going to feel like we're white knuckling for a short period of time. I can force myself to do these things. But inevitably, we will always fall in line with who we think we really are and how we think we are meant to act. And a lot of that is unconscious. It's really hard for you to understand what your own limiting beliefs are because you just think That's the way it is. Beliefs are repeated thoughts to the point that we no longer need to think about them. And oftentimes, the way it is not the way it is. It's just the way you've learned it to be. So your brain, being that it's always listening, is quite responsive. Let's start the day with some powerful identity statements. Anything that comes after the words I am is an affirmation. It's incredibly powerful. It's prophetic over yourself. There's a reason that God said, I am that I am to Moses. You need to be very particular about what follows I am. I am the kind of woman who follows through. I am a woman that makes choices in line with my values. I am someone who takes care of herself. I am an exerciser. I am a decision maker. I am assertive. I am a leader. I am on purpose with my life. I am a victor, not a victim. I'm an overcomer. You can really latch onto that one. The more you repeat it, the more your RAS will look for proof that that's true. And we're not being fluffy woo-woo out there. You really do need to renew and reprogram your mind. Now, when you see your evidence, please notice it, label it, name it, be conscious of it, because you're reinforcing it. So if you said no to a common craving, or if you got in a workout when you didn't feel like it, or if you're on the flip side of that and you chose rest when you could have pushed your body way too hard and pushed yourself into the ground, and you allowed things to just be what they were at the end of the day and turned it all off and allowed yourself to decompress, that's a win. Call it out. Simply by saying, see, that's me. That's the real me. That's the new normal. And this, again, reprograms the filter to spot more aligned actions in the future. Visual cues are also really helpful. I used this a lot when I was retraining my brain. So after I yo-yo dieted for I don't know how many times, but it was the most devastating time, I would say, after a bikini competition years ago, is literally when I found my faith. And I put a Post-it note under my bathroom mirror in my apartment in Queens, and it said, do you want to be a disciple of Jesus? Then you must learn discipline. And you might think, well, of course you are already disciplined because you got yourself super lean for a bikini show. Yes, but discipline, biblically speaking, is a form of training. So when you're disciplining a child or you're being discipled, you're being trained. And I needed God to help me retrain myself. I thought I could just, again, overdo it behaviorally and hope that things came into alignment instead of going under the surface and figuring out, what do I really think about myself? Do I think I'm worthy of this? Do I think this is who I really am? And who am I really? Who am I supposed to be? Who am I called to be? And there's actually no reason why I can't live in my goals except for me, except for my own limiting thoughts. If something's put on your heart long enough, there's a reason it's there. Especially if you're a believer, when you delight yourself in the Lord, He'll give you the desires of your heart. That doesn't mean that you're just going to get whatever you want. It means the desires that persist on your heart have been given to you by Him. One of the desires on my heart was caring for myself properly, taking care of my body. It was not allowing my own cravings and desires and needs for immediate satisfaction and all those carnal things to take over me. It was for me to be calm, responsive, meaning able to respond and not just reacting to everything in my life. It was for me to be peaceful. It was for me to be secure in my own body and in who I was, to show up confidently. And I had a desire to be consistent, to be reliable, to be steady. I still have that desire to this day. It's something that you're always going to be refining your own identity. So back then, I had those sticky notes. I also had other sticky notes over my sink. It was a 1-bedroom apartment. So I would use those. I had lock screen affirmations on my phone. I used a bracelet. Anything that reminds your brain what to look for is going to be helpful. You can have little mantra sayings to remind yourself, I eat in alignment with my goals. I lead myself. I am on purpose. Over time, your brain can shift its default settings. You have to be very intentional about this. Your brain is always building a case for something, so make sure it's building a case for who you are becoming. And you're always becoming, you're never there. That's the amazing thing, is that you get to continually grow and increase and expand. Now, if this is resonating with you and you're like, yes, I need to stop fixing myself on the outside with more rules and start working with my brain and my body, I want to personally invite you to my free masterclass exclusively for women over 30 who are ready for a new way, a root cause approach to weight loss and wellness. Inside, I'll show you how to work with your hormones and your metabolism for weight loss. And yes, we'll dive even deeper into the brain-body connection that makes this all sustainable. The class is called From Chaotic to Confident. It's happening June 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Live attendees get my cravings control cheat sheet and stress reset toolkit. Head to the link in the show notes or DM me on Instagram at victoriahartcorn.fitness, the word masterclass, to grab your spot. The next thing is understanding neuroplasticity. I asked my clients about this last night, and not all of them were familiar with this. This is your brain's ability to rewire itself based on consistent thoughts, sayings, feelings, doings repeatedly. Also, it's the nervous system's ability to adapt to changes in the internal and external environment. It's how we form new patterns, reactions, and again, your identity over time. So every time you are thinking a thought, you are carving a path. I live out in Colorado where you can hike for miles and miles and miles, and there are paths that are more pleasant than others because they've been beaten down and worn down and they're very clear to walk on. It's the same way in your brain. You've got some highways and you've got some I want to use this path, but I can't get through all of the brush and the branches, and you have to clear away by going that same route and allowing a deep trail to form. This is why repeating not just thoughts, but sentences out loud, like the weekends are the end of me, or I can never have one, or I'm addicted to sugar, that reinforces a reality because it's a trail you keep going down. The good news is, like I said, you can carve it on purpose. And this is really important when it comes to signs and symptoms inside your body, because neuroplasticity plays a key role in the maintenance of chronic pain, which results with neurons gradually becoming oversensitive to the same stimuli, in this case, pain. So anything that goes on for longer than a few months, it's no longer acute, now it's chronic. And during that process, neuroplasticity is modifying the connections between neurons and the efficiency of the synapses, the functional state of these pathways, which intensifies your pain. Isn't that awful? It works in your favor on the other end of things because pain pathways can change over time in the other direction with the right treatments, with mindfulness and retraining your mind, which allows your brain to learn how to reduce pain signals and to create new, healthier patterns. Now, I am not a brain expert. I am just someone that's very, very interested in it and has been reading about it and using it to my benefit for years, and I know that it can help you in the simplest forms. So choosing very intentional identity-based thoughts, like we said before. I take care of my body because it takes care of me. It's one of my favorites. Even if they don't feel true yet, repeat them and use them intentionally when you are in a peak emotional state. So when you are really feeling good, feeling joyful, peaceful, happy, grateful is the best one. When you're in a positive state, you're more likely to really cement those beliefs. This also goes for when you're in a really dark place, when you're resentful and you're feeling guilty or shameful. We really want to nip that in the bud without dismissing your feelings. Feel your feelings, but be very mindful of what you say out loud and what you meditate on over and over and over in your mind. Because again, it's wearing down a trail to continue on in the future. Repetition with emotion equals rewiring. So let's do this on purpose. One of the ways that we do this with our clients that's really effective is just celebrating small wins like they are huge. We want to celebrate every little win. And the acronym I heard for WIN that I love is what matters is attempted impressive effort to a noticeable result. Like I said, the brain loves evidence. So when you celebrate that one mindful meal, or stopping at satisfied instead of cleaning your plate, or remembering to take your supplements, remembering to do your deep breathing, calming yourself down, doing a little impulse control, allowing yourself to feel your feelings, getting to the gym even when it's rainy. These seem like, oh, duh, but when you recognize it and reinforce it, this is who I am now. It accelerates identity change, and the results will follow who you believe you are. The results are a lagging measure of the way you've been thinking for the past few months. You can also visualize yourself. This is powerful. Your imagination is the conceptor of your faith. It's where things really start. When you think about your fears, a lot of them start there. So let's flip it to the other side. When you think about the best things that can happen, you want to allow your brain to visualize in a fun way that excites you. Just allow yourself to think of the best possible outcome, because every woman, especially a woman that has children, is prone to thinking of the worst possible thing that can happen. And that is a survival mechanism in our brain as well. We do want to be aware of real and present danger, but oftentimes it's not real and present danger. It's just normal everyday stuff, and we're just so prone to these little loops that put us into a perpetual state of anxiety. Instead, actually give yourself space to visualize and make it multisensory. So if you can start to experience it with emotions, with scent, taste, sight, hearing, all those things are really helpful in using your imagination. They've proven this with athletes for sure. Using the power of visualization so that they can perform better in the moment is a very real thing. Now, I'm not saying that you are manifesting your life. I do know the way that you think and the energy you bring to things matters, because we are energy. But also, you are not God in your life, and you can do everything to co-create and to co-partner with the way that the universe works already. And God has created the universe. The universe is not God either. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but this is just my opinion, and I maybe need to share it. Thinking that the universe and God are the same thing, in my opinion, is the same as, calling Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken. One of those things is the creator and the other is the creation. There are laws to work with here. Let's take advantage of them. So what would the confident, energized version of you be doing? What is the call that's on your life? What are you most excited about in the next few months? How do you want to show up for your kids? How do you want to show up in your job? How do you know you can show up? And then each aligned action after that visualization teaches your brain, this is who I am. I would also use some triggers or some anchors to really help you rewire. So every single day when you're brushing your teeth, or every single day when you're pouring your coffee, do that quick affirmation, that quick visualization, that quick action, that quick statement that gets you into the right place. I know a lot of high performance coaches would recommend for someone to do an anchoring movement to get yourself into an emotional state, to remind you who you are and who you are working to become. This is a little more advanced, so I'm not going to go into it very much because it's not really necessary at first, but it does stack new thought pathways into a routine with way less effort. And your brain loves that. Your brain loves to conserve energy. That's why it creates habit loops. That's why it repeats your thoughts so much. That's why so much, I'm talking like 90% of what you think today, you thought yesterday. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live Groundhog Day. You're not stuck. You're just practicing a pattern. With intention, repetition, and aligned action, you can teach your brain and your body a new normal, because this goes for how you respond to stress as well. What triggers you? What causes your body to respond before your mind has? It's good to practice new self-talk in little micro moments, moments that don't even matter. For me, leaving a few bites on my plate was a micro moment. And then when I got crazy about making sure that my food was exactly as it should be, the micro moment was intentionally messing it up, because you can go to the other side of things where you try to live a perfect, healthy life, and that's not healthy either. And lastly, I want to talk to you about exposure therapy, which is something that I learned I'm, again, not a psychologist, I'll just say it right now, but I learned this technique to retrain my brain to respond calmly to things that used to feel triggering or scary to me. So in this case, we're talking about food and how food can feel like it's going to send you into a state where you're not in control anymore. So if there's a specific food or type of food, I think it's a 1.0 thing to get it out of your house. Like sometimes, yes, you can get it out of your environment. It's easier to just remove the dragon than trying to slay it all the time. However, the real power comes from when it doesn't bother you at all. Like the 2.0 version of you is not affected by the food being near you. You can handle this. There's nothing outside of you that's stronger than you. The things you are avoiding because you don't trust yourself are an invitation for you to learn how to overcome them. So for me, I felt like if I kept certain things in my house, like back then I lived alone, so it was easy for me to go to Trader Joe's and get all the fancy treats and just lose control. And I often lost control with peanut butter. I just love peanut butter. Now I could care less about peanut butter, but I remember back then eating so much peanut butter, it was like I had to avoid it or I would ruin my entire day. And just so you know, if you've never measured an actual serving of peanut butter, it's eye-opening. So what we want to do is not just avoid it. Again, we're not white-knuckling forever until we eventually cave and overdo it and feel like a failure and start all over again. That is not a lack of discipline. It's just a stress response. Your brain literally sees this food now as a threat. Instead, let's teach your brain this is not dangerous. I don't need to panic. And we do this through gradual, neutral, low pressure exposure to these triggers without any kind of punishment or consequence for whatever happens. Like you can't mess this up. Even if you do overdo it when you're exposing yourself, show yourself compassion. You took a risk. And next time, it will go a little better. And next time, it'll get a little easier. And next time, you'll feel a little bit more in your power. And you gradually help your nervous system build trust again. So bring the food back into your house. Yes, really. Pick one food that feels triggering, but that you love. And you don't have to eat it right away. Just get used to it being around without any urgency to eat it or panic around it. Create these low pressure moments on purpose, not when you're starving, not when you're stressed. Eat it without distractions so you can focus on the sensory experience, savoring it, tasting, smelling, feeling it. The goal is not to not eat it. It's to eat it without spiraling or getting upset with yourself. And then practice leaving some behind. Practice checking in. Practice just having a bite. You can't mess it up. I know you might be like, I must just have a bite and put it away. And then if you eat the whole thing, you're going to be mad at yourself. That is not the way. It's, I'm going to intend to have one bite and then see how I feel. I'm going to have another bite and then check in with myself. You're just retraining yourself. I'm safe. I'm not restricted. I'm in control. This really works because repeated exposure teaches you it's not the enemy, teaches you don't need to binge or overeat or overindulge to feel satisfied, and ultimately you want to trust yourself. Ultimately, you deserve freedom, and you can have that. Avoidance breeds fear, but calm, controlled exposure done intentionally will build up that feeling of freedom. And this is how you stop obsessing. This is how food just becomes food again. It doesn't bother you anymore. I can't tell you the last time I had peanut butter. And it's in my fridge every day. I don't care. It's just there. If I want it, I'll have it. That is how you're going to hack your mind. You're going to train your reticular activating system, the gatekeeper of your brain, what it needs to look for. You're going to utilize neuroplasticity by repeating things with emotion and on purpose, so you start to memorize them and create little trails in your mind that you want to repeat daily. And you're going to expose yourself to food or situations that you want to be really intentional about overcoming because you are an overcomer. That's an identity I know you can have. If you take nothing else from today's episode, take this. You do not need to fix yourself. This is something I tried to do for years. You're not broken. You are not a project or a problem. You are a person to be loved, to grow, to learn, and to love on others and serve them. You have an opportunity to rewire the version of you that's already in there. Just release her. The one who eats with ease, who trusts her body, who enjoys movement, who feels at home in her skin. She's in there. And that rewiring does not start with the perfect plan. It starts with how you think and how you talk to yourself. So if you're ready to finally shift into the version of you that feels strong, calm, and clear, join me live on June 11th or catch the replay. You can sign up in the link below this episode, and I hope to see you there.